Since the dawn of time, the word prosperity has been tangled up in conflicting takes. Some see it as a divine promise, others as a sin in disguise. But there's something rarely said. The Bible does hold codes for true wealth, not in the loud, popular verses, but in the quiet subtext. And that's the mystery most folks don't dare touch. Wallace D. Wattles said wealth wasn't a gift or a fluke. It was the result of thinking and acting right. That same logic hides in the scriptures, just under the surface. The sacred text doesn't shout ready-made formulas. It whispers principles. Timeless principles that, when understood and applied, move the invisible toward the visible. And that's where most people miss it. True biblical prosperity isn't about chasing external blessings, but aligning your inner self with divine order. Because God never worked through chance. He always operated with purpose, with laws, with patterns. When those patterns are followed, the harvest is inevitable. When they're ignored, the soil stays barren no matter how much you pray or wish. Ever wonder why some people, without inheritance or connections, break through barriers and live in abundance? It's not luck. It's not privilege. It's access. Access to spiritual laws that work in silence. The difference lies between those who know and those who just repeat, between those who act and those who wait. The mystery of prosperity is out there, but it's rarely preached from pulpits or splashed in headlines. It's tucked away in habits, details, and daily choices most people overlook. And maybe the most hidden truth of all, prosperity, according to the Bible and Wattles, isn't just a destination, it's a byproduct. You don't chase it directly, you attract it, create it, generate it through a mental, spiritual, and practical vibe. When you align with both heaven and earth, you don't need to run after abundance, it starts running after you. If there's one spot where biblical wisdom and Wallace D. Wattles' philosophy click with surgical precision, it's this. The mind is the bridge between heaven and the material world. It's where the process of creation, manifestation, and transformation kicks off. Before any visible harvest, there's an invisible soil being worked, the soil of imagination, thought, and inner faith. Wattles was adamant that everything in the physical world was first shaped in the mind, whether God's mind creating the universe or the human mind crafting its own reality. And the Bible quietly backs this up. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what is visible. Hebrews 11:3. That's the key few people use. Creation starts in the invisible, and the mind is the first workshop where it all takes shape. But most folks live the opposite way, thinking the outside shapes the inside. They wait for prosperity to show up out there before feeling prosperous within. That's a dead-end road. A mind not trained to embrace abundance will lose money as fast as it gets it. Because the outer world can't sustain a reality the soul still rejects. That's why the mind needs to be rewired for abundance before it can show up. This rewiring isn't surface level. It means breaking old patterns, rethinking beliefs, unlearning the idea that wealth is dirty, out of reach, or meant for someone else. The mind has to be cleared of mental junk, fear, the I don't deserve it vibe, and realigned with divine truth, that there's an unlimited source of provision open to anyone who consciously taps into it. Prayer, meditation, reading, and reflection aren't just for comfort. They're spiritual tools to lift your mind to a new frequency. Wattles called it thinking right. And thinking right isn't just staying positive, it's thinking with purpose, with faith, with a clear image, with consistency. It's picturing what you want as if it's already real, not some vague wish, but a reality taking shape. Here's the critical part. Your mind has to back up what your heart wants. Because anything divided inside you gets weakened outside. If your mind sees wealth but your emotions vibe scarcity, you're in conflict, and the universe picks up on the stronger signal. That's why creative thought needs creative feeling. To match, heart and mind have to move together toward what you want to see happen. There's something sacred about seeing the mind as a channel for divine abundance. It means realizing God works through you, not just for you. When you align your mind with divine principles, you're not begging for a blessing. You're becoming the tool for it. That changes everything. What was anxious prayer becomes quiet certainty. What was desperate effort turns into guided action. and what once seemed impossible starts feeling like just a matter of time. Building anything solid needs a strong foundation. For prosperity, that foundation is habits. Not just any habits, but the ones you repeat quietly, with grit and intention. Wallace D. Wattles taught that wealth becomes inevitable when right thinking is backed by right action. And that's exactly what biblical principles reveal, even if symbolically, as the pillars of a financially prosperous life: self-control, saving, and multiplying. The first pillar is self-control, laid out plain in the advice to live below your means. Proverbs 21:20 says, "In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has." This isn't just about cash. It's about mastering impulses. It's the less now for more later principle. Someone who blows everything they earn is, in practice, robbing their own future. The wise, on the other hand, hold back, organize, and protect their harvest field. The second pillar is saving. Proverbs 22:3 says, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty." Keeping a financial reserve isn't just smart, it's spiritual wisdom. Like Joseph in Egypt, who stored grain during the fat years to face the lean ones, those who save build an invisible shield against crises. It's not just money tucked away, it's peace, freedom, and independence. The third pillar is multiplication. The Bible doesn't just teach holding on, it teaches making things grow. The parable of the talents, Matthew 25, lays it out clear. The servant who buries his talent out of fear loses even what he has. But those who invest, grow, and act with guts get rewarded. This isn't just about cash, it's about mindset. Those who see resources as seeds plant them, those who see them as risks bury them, and the universe responds to each one's faith. These three pillars, self-control, saving, and multiplication, form the practical foundation of prosperity in the scriptures. There's no magic here. It's discipline. It's awareness. It's a long-term vision that rises above the instant gratification trap of modern life. And above all, it's a quiet confidence that when you align thought, action, and timeless principles, the invisible starts working in your favor. There's a common belief that faith and strategy don't mix, that trusting God means just waiting. But neither the Bible nor Wallace D. Wattles buy into that. Both, in their own way, say true faith walks hand in hand with planned action. It's not a faith that sits idle, it's a faith that moves with smarts, vision, and structure. In Proverbs 6, there's a gem most people skip over. "Go to the ant, you slacker. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest." This verse drops a heavy truth. Quiet preparation is spiritual wisdom. The ant doesn't rely on anyone or wait for a crisis. It plans ahead. It trusts the winter's coming and gets ready before it hits. Wattles insisted that creative thought needs to be backed by efficient action, but he was clear. That action needs a plan. Most people act on impulse, reacting to whatever's happening. The wise don't. They move with clarity, goals, and structure, not out of fear of the future, but out of respect for the process of creation. They know every big harvest starts with a well-laid field. Faith without direction turns into anxiety. Planning without faith becomes control freak mode. But when the two balance, you get a steady, secure path where prosperity isn't a fluke. It's the result of aligned choices. The mind maps the route, faith fuels the journey, and the plan organizes the steps. That's acting with spiritual wisdom, not just human logic. The Bible's full of examples like this. Nehemiah, rebuilding Jerusalem's walls, didn't just pray, he made a plan. Joseph in Egypt didn't just interpret dreams, he organized grain storage. Even Jesus, feeding the crowds, had everyone sit in groups, setting the stage before the miracle. Miracles move better on prepared ground. The mistake many make when chasing prosperity is wanting a different future while keeping sloppy habits. The faith that works is the one that turns into discipline, organization, and written plans followed through. Not to control God, but to show the universe you're ready to receive. Because God doesn't waste provision, He gives it to those with the structure to multiply it. There's a universal principle that echoes in both the Bible and Wallace D. Wattles' philosophy. Abundance never starts big. It starts with vision, and vision paired with consistent right action turns the small into the extraordinary. That's the rhythm of creation, spiritual and practical. It's how heaven works through human hands. Jesus taught that the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, the tiniest of seeds that grows into one of the biggest trees. Matthew 13:31-32. That's not just a religious metaphor, it's a prosperity key. Because what seems insignificant today, an idea, a small saving, a talent, can, with faith and direction, become an overflowing source of wealth. Wattles said everything you want to manifest has to first be held in the mind as a clear, steady image. And what strengthens that image is the conviction that even if it looks small now, you're building something big. The seed needs to be respected as the start of the miracle. Many brush off small beginnings, but that's where God tests the heart. If you're faithful with little, you'll be trusted with much. Matthew 25:23. This is where most people trip up. They don't see instant results, so they quit. But the field rewards patience, not haste. You don't plant today and harvest tomorrow. The vision needs to be cultivated, watered with action, fed with faith, and guarded from doubt. That takes constant vigilance. The world will try to convince you it's not working, it's a waste of time, it won't happen. But you don't live by sight, you live by vision. The virtuous woman in Proverbs 31 considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands she plants a vineyard. That's not just farming, it's spiritual wisdom. She sees value before the land produces. She spots potential before the harvest. That's creative vision in action, seeing what isn't, yet as if it already is. And that kind of vision moves the creative substance, as Wattles would say. The little, when backed by the right vision, becomes a lot. Not because the world changed, but because your vibe did. And when you shift inside, the field starts to respond. Because God doesn't need grandeur to work, He needs faith, consistency, and willingness. And with those three seeds, He turns barren fields into endless springs. The world says wealth is measured by what you own. The Bible, though, shows something else. True prosperity is the ability to keep and grow what you have. And Wallace D. Wattles, in his own words, said the same. Abundance doesn't come from chaotic hoarding, but from inner order reflected in outer management. In other words, money's a mirror, not the source. Proverbs 21:20 paints a vivid, mysterious picture. In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has. This isn't just a moral warning, it's a spiritual snapshot. The wise here is the one who doesn't blow everything they get, who knows when to flow and when to hold back. They get that real prosperity needs room to breathe, and that room is carved out through intentional restraint. Restraint isn't deprivation. It's not living like there's nothing now or never will be. Quite the opposite. It's a quiet declaration of future abundance. When you choose to spend less than you earn, you're telling the universe, I trust the timing, I'm gearing up to grow. It's a vibrational flex that you're not driven by anxiety, but by vision. Wattles explained that the creative substance responds to clarity and order. If you're chasing more but living in financial chaos, making snap decisions, or chasing instant gratification, you're sending mixed signals. You're asking for growth but planting disarray, and the harvest will match the seed. That's why so many stay stuck in cycles of earn and burn, never moving forward. It's not a lack of income, it's too much leakage, strategic restraint, or living below your means is like an irrigation channel. By limiting waste, you strengthen the flow. This applies to money, but also to time, energy, and focus. It's an inner stance of mastery, not scarcity. It's taking charge of your reality with calm, without needing to prove anything to anyone. It's when your no starts protecting your bigger yes, the dream of a prosperous, free life. The Bible is packed with examples of this. The strongest might be Joseph, who even in times of plenty chose to save. That conscious restraint saved an entire nation during 7 years of crisis. He could have spent, partied, or flexed. Instead, he chose preparation. That's not religious. dogma its spiritual smarts. And today that principle still shields, sustains, and enriches those who live by it. Living below your means is more than a habit. It's an identity. It's the mindset of someone playing the long game, who knows it's not about what comes in, but what stays. Someone who gets that creating space is as crucial as creating value. And that's why this habit, though it seems simple, is one of the most powerful and least taught pillars of true abundance. In a world obsessed with shortcuts, quick wins, and instant fixes, the Bible and Wallace D. Wattles point to a less flashy, but infinitely stronger path: diligence with purpose. It's not just about grinding hard, but working with awareness, direction, and an inner drive to multiply what you've got, even if it feels small. Ecclesiastes 9:10 lays it down: whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. This isn't just a moral nudge, it's a growth principle. What's in your hands now might seem small, but when you do it with excellence, it sparks an invisible force. Wallace D. Wattles called this efficient action, the kind of action born from a mind that's already seen the outcome, from a faith that's already claimed the win. The difference between effort and diligence is the spirit behind the action. Effort can be just motion without direction, a do-it-to-get-it-done vibe. But diligence runs deeper. It's doing what's in your reach with quality while prepping the ground for what's coming. That builds authority, consistency, respect, and, most importantly, results. The Bible's full of people who prospered through diligence. Joseph, even as a slave and later a prisoner, stood out because of his approach and ended up running Egypt. David, before he was king, tended sheep with such care that God called him a man after my own heart. Paul the apostle made tents while preaching the gospel. A man on a mission, but also grounded in practical responsibility. Wattles said, all true wealth comes from doing what you can do now, efficiently and consistently, not from what you wish you were doing. The mind creates, but action seals the deal. And the more you execute with quality on what's in front of you, the more room you make for the new to roll in. Multiplication starts where you are, not where you dream of being. Diligence is also quiet resilience. It's staying steady even when no one's watching, when there's no applause, when results haven't shown up yet. And here's a secret few get: God tests the heart through work. He watches how you handle the small, the temporary, the starting point, and when he sees faithfulness there, he hands you more because he knows you can be trusted. So don't sleep on the days of effort. Don't gripe about what seems small. Every task done with excellence is an invisible brick in the house of prosperity. The universe, as Wattles taught, responds to the vibe of your actions. And if those actions carry vision, purpose, and commitment, the payoff is inevitable. Not because you fought too hard, but because you planted right, in the right way, at the right time. There's a quiet force that drives the universe of prosperity, and it's rarely grasped by those stuck in the logic of hoarding. Both the Bible and Wallace D. Wattles say it clear: what you give to the world comes back to you multiplied, not by luck, but by law. And generosity, when done with awareness and intention, stops being a random act of charity and becomes a spiritual gateway to true abundance. Luke 6:38 says, "Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." This verse is more than a promise, it's a spiritual equation. It shows that giving isn't just about helping someone else, it sets off an invisible chain reaction. When you share what you have, even if it's just a little, you're telling the universe you trust the source, not the stash. Your provision doesn't come from what you hold on to, but from what flows through you. Wallace D. Wattles taught that wealth shouldn't be hoarded with greed, but circulated with smarts. For him, the truly prosperous person is the one who adds value to others' lives. The creative substance responds to usefulness, impact, and the steady flow of value. And generosity is the most direct way to vibe at that frequency. When you give with joy, you don't lose, you plant. And you plant in fertile soil. But generosity isn't just about cash. It's also time, attention, advice, service. It's being willing to use what you've got to spark growth around you. The Bible's full of stories like this. The widow of Zarephath shared her last meal with Elijah. and was sustained by a miracle through the drought. Zacchaeus, after meeting Jesus, gave half his wealth to the poor. Giving doesn't drain you, it expands you. Here's the catch. The universe doesn't just respond to the act, but to the intention behind it. Generosity laced with guilt, obligation, or showboating doesn't hit the same as giving with faith, purpose, and gratitude. It's about giving like you're making room for more. Like you know what you have is just a channel, and the flow's got to keep moving. Scarcity says, hold on to what you've got, or you'll run out. Faith fires back, plant what you've got, and the harvest will come. Those who live with that mindset find they never go without because their field is always in motion. Their life becomes part of a divine cycle of inflow and outflow, sowing and reaping, where every act of generosity is a seed tossed into time, and time never fails to deliver. True prosperity isn't just measured by what you have, but by how much you can keep, grow, and sustain with peace of mind. And that takes more than financial tricks or focused planning. It needs a deeper, almost invisible foundation: integrity, contentment, and trust. This is the trifecta that holds up the house of real abundance, and few value it because it demands maturity. The Bible is clear: whoever walks in integrity walks securely. Proverbs 10:9. Wallace D. Wattles said something similar. The creative substance vibes with those who are steady, coherent, and in sync. Integrity is exactly that: inner and outer alignment. It's doing what's right even when no one's watching. It's sticking to your principles even when shortcuts tempt you. The world might reward slick moves in the short term, but the divine substance only rolls with those who keep it real. Contentment is another quiet pillar. It's not about settling or staying stuck, but about valuing what you already have while moving toward what you want. Paul said, "I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances." Philippians 4:11. Contentment breaks the anxious vibe and makes room for gratitude. And gratitude, as Wattles taught, is one of the most powerful states for manifesting wealth, because it zeroes in on what is, not what's missing. And the universe amplifies what you focus on with faith. The third leg of this trifecta is trust, not just in yourself, but in the process, the source, the timing. A lot of folks fail, not for lack of talent, but because they give up too soon. They don't trust that what they're planting will bloom. Wattles taught that creative thought only works when backed by unshakable faith. And that faith shows up as practical trust. Keep acting even when you don't see results. Keep believing even when everything looks the opposite. That's what separates creators from dreamers. Integrity gives you stability. Contentment grounds you in gratitude. Trust pushes you forward without hesitation. When these three pillars are in place, wealth stops being shaky, fragile, or fleeting. It becomes a natural extension of your inner state. Over time, what seemed far off gets closer, what was small multiplies, and what you lacked starts to flow, not by force, but by vibrational and spiritual alignment. At the end of every quest for abundance, one question stands out: what's it all for? To just stack up wealth? To flex for the gram? To stroke your ego? The Bible and Wallace D. Wattles meet on a profound truth. Real prosperity doesn't stop with you, it flows through you. It's a current that comes from above, takes shape in the material world, but returns to the whole as honor, impact, and contribution. Jesus was blunt. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, but store up treasures in heaven. Matthew 6:19-20. This isn't a call to ditch everything, but a shift in perspective. Making money, building wealth, living financially free, that's all part of the plan. But without a bigger purpose, it's a trap. Wealth that only serves itself rots. Wealth that serves the whole multiplies. Wattles said humans should live to max out their potential and help others do the same. That's true abundance, living fully while becoming a bridge for others' transformation. When that happens, money stops being the goal and becomes a tool for purpose. This eternal cycle starts inside, with thought, faith, and action. It shows up outside, with results, wins, and rewards. But it's only complete when it circles back to the spirit, as gratitude, generosity, humility and service. Prospering on earth is legit. Honoring heaven with that prosperity is divine. Abraham was called a friend of God, and he was also filthy rich in livestock, silver, and gold. But his wealth didn't pull him away from his purpose. It put him in motion, made him a blesser of nations. Paul said he knew how to live with little and with plenty, and that he was equipped for it all. That's wisdom. Not letting what you have define who you are, but using what you have to show who you've become. If you apply the principles we've walked through, creative thinking, restraint, efficient action, vision, generosity, and integrity, the results will come. But don't let those results be the end game. Let them spark a new cycle. Because the most powerful prosperity isn't the kind that isolates you. It's the kind that connects you. It doesn't set you apart. It aligns you. It doesn't lift you up alone. It lifts others with you. If this content lit a spark in you, give the video a like and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll keep getting practical and spiritual wisdom to build a life rich in purpose, not just in dollars. Now that you've walked this path of revelations, check out the videos popping up on your screen. They'll expand your vision even further and strengthen your next steps toward true abundance.